Hi, I'm Deepika Grover with Grover Mortgage Group.
And I'm Natalie Van Cardo with the Nat Nate Real Estate Team.
Welcome to our new podcast,
Real Estate of Mind,
where we discuss real estate, life, and everything in between.
We're excited for you to follow us and join in on our journey.
Sheila, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
You're our first guest to come back for a second time, so welcome.
Oh, that's exciting.
Your episode has been the most popular.
Oh, wow.
So people have liked you.
Clearly, people want some help, right? Like they're happy to do it themselves. They just need to know what can they do.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
We're hitting the spring time, which is my favorite time to like declutter and like bring freshness and air back into the house.
Yeah.
So what are your like main tips for spring cleaning for people?
Yeah, you're right. So like in the GTA, especially in Ontario, we naturally think reset is January, but spring seems to be it because that's that seasonal change. You're able to actually get outside now. I think of first steps, and this is where if you guys remember, I talked about planning a lot. I think the big thing is just execute. Like if you want great execution, it's trying to get an assessment of your house. A lot of us, when we think spring cleaning, we're like, oh, just setting up outside. And so we can live outside now because we've been cooped up in the house for so long. But that's not really what spring cleaning should be. I would say take an assessment of your home, have that objective hat on, and really think through, walk through the house, walk through the spaces and go, what's the current state? What would I love for the purpose of this place to be? What was the intention of this space? And then try to pick out what are the things that are wrong with this space? What would I like to do? And that starts creating like a priority list of how much time is it going to take to do? Do I need help? And eventually you'll get through the whole house and realize, okay, there's some quick wins. Maybe you're seeing sort of a theme. I need to do it room by room. Perhaps you're seeing like there's some things that are obvious and glaring in every room, and it's by a category, right? Like I'm seeing that there's donation stuff in every room. It doesn't take much thinking, and you can probably do those in one day. So really just thinking through the process and then being prepared with the tools for that stuff. So really assess, determine your priority list, and then if it's the quick wins, that's great. For me, the quick wins would be your junk drawer, purses and bags. Right now we're switching over to a new season. Probably don't need the heavy moisturizer, probably don't need the extra accessories for the mitts and things. So think of clearing that out. And then obvious things, foyer, coat closet, change out.
Oh my God, coat closet.
It's my favorite one to do.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
Oh, does that feel freeing to you?
They usually, I have enough space where they all stay, but it's just like reorganizing. So the lighter ones are at the front and then the heavy ones go further back. It's just like that. We don't need these anymore.
Guys, we have so many winter jackets. It's actually crazy.
So
It's like thinking about it, it's like giving me anxiety right now.
Really?
and that's the thing. A lot of us have multiples, or like again, we live in a place where you almost need to think of every possible adjustment of temperature and have something for that, right?
Yeah.
And layer. And so what I always say is for spring, try to find like your lighter and lighter jackets and take away the winter stuff. Like
Where would you
accessories.
put it?
So in our home, for instance, and some of my clients, we actually store it either in a basement. In our house, we actually store it in an extra unit outside, an external public space. And so we physically have to take it elsewhere. And we're taking the footwear and everything, and we're bringing in spring stuff, lighter stuff into the house. Like,
But I like that because then it's like you can actually like physically see the change instead of just like still
you're
having
stuffing
it all.
it.
Yeah.
And remember, closet space is precious real estate in most people's houses. They don't have a ton of it. And so to stuff it with everything
I'm going to
is not going to work. Like, it's great that you thought
No, I'm
about like
clearing it.
moving it to the side and having accessible. That's probably the easiest. But when you're just stuffing it, it becomes really hard to pull things out. You end up
Totally.
dropping a jacket. Like, it doesn't work. So I always try to say, just take it out. Let's box it. And if you have a basement, great. If you don't, like me, where it's kind of occupied, then use that external space for that. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that like I have like a decently like big sized house, but like my closet space is so little compared to like how big my house is.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, I don't think it's the closet that's the problem. I think it's all the jacket.
It's the stuff inside.
Like,
it,
why
yeah.
do we all have like 5 jackets each for
Because we
each
like
season?
stuff, right?
Like,
But
what is happening?
There's different styles
Yes.
because you can't wear the same coat with every outfit.
No, so
I know,
true.
like my husband, he has like 3. He's good.
Yeah,
like with us,
simple
we have
man.
many. Like even my kids, they have a variety. So
Right, like the formal jacket versus the, the one to go play in the snow with. So I get it, like having the variety, but that's all the more reason why you have to take it out because you're not going to fit it all if you chose to do that over the course of the year.
No, I like that. But that's cool that you have like an external use. Is it like a shed or like what is it?
No, like public storage. Like we have, because we don't have our basement. We actually, that's occupied with in-laws. So unlike the fortunate people that might have basement storage, we don't. So we have to intentionally think about what is that external storage going to look like.
Wait, you're invested in public storage? That's so interesting.
Oh, that's a whole other topic.
Can you let's talk about that.
Yeah. So it's funny because I actually shared stats, and I do a decluttering workshop for a lot of companies. And one of those things is we talk about the stats of how public storage has grown immensely. So like you're a realtor, staging is a big thing. Yeah. Back in like 10, 20 years ago when I was in staging heavily, we were using that as like, okay, so for the short 30 days that we might need to get rid of your personal stuff and stage the home, let's rent out a unit. That's no longer the case. Now people are using this as extensions of their home. It's there all year round, like me, because they're either don't have that extra space or they've just stuffed their home with so much stuff.
Consumerism is a thing.
Right? And then there's the man cave. Have you seen the man caves in some of these places where that's a whole separate space for them and they're happy to just spend half a day there. They've just got the door open and they're just sitting there. If you've
inside?
Yeah. These are outdoor places, especially the outdoor ones you'll see in the summer months. People are just literally have rolled it up. Their car is out in front, and they're just chilling in there.
Wait, so at the public storage space?
Yeah, you clearly you guys don't have public storage. You're so lucky. Yeah, so it's become.
No, I was just gonna say my basement is like so cluttered. Like we look like hoarders down there.
Yeah,
and that's okay. You have a basement now. It's just about organizing. But if you do need to use it, it is a thing, and we're spending a lot on it. And so if the other thing with pricing on public storage, it's based on availability. So like today it might be available for $50. And again, this is like, we're talking like 5 by 10 spaces. Like you're literally talking inches as you're paying for it. And it can go up 100, 150. I saw my last bill. We originally bought it for $49.99 right now. And we probably used it now 5-6 years. We're at like $159.99.
Really?
And they can go, it's higher than just your
they've increased it that much for the same space, or have you increased your space?
For the same space. And every year it goes up. And there's nothing you can do about it, and they know people need it.
Okay, this is crazy because I was driving by like U-Haul public storage or like whatever it is, like on the highway. I was driving by and I was looking at it and I was like, who uses these? I was like, is this like a good business model?
First off, I'm there with you, but I'm like, you keep seeing them pop up. And in my head, I'm like, do a lot of people just need to store things?
Oh, wow, I'm surprised you guys. Yeah, it is like,
this is crazy.
It's so needed. And
we use them part-time. Like it'll be a month or two to store people's furniture and then bring it back or to their house. That I get. But like for long-term,
I've never. It is so common. Yeah, it's like $1 billion industry, guys.
That's insane. I guess was unaware to like how much people buy. Your situation is completely different because you obviously don't have this space. Yeah. But for people who have this space and then still need to go out and use public storage, like that is consumerism at its finest.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
That's kind of concerning to me, though.
Yeah,
that they need to have.
They have, and then they're spending extra money to store their extra stuff that they spend extra money on
to buy in the first place. Payment, right? Like that's a monthly
literally
charge.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm glad I've opened up your eyes, guys.
This is becoming a problem.
Wow.
So if someone is bringing things to storage, how would you help them figure out if it's sentimental value and needs to be transferred, or like how do you figure that part out?
Yes. So we talked about sentimental. We talked about sentimental last night. And it's the hardest thing to get people to let go of, and I know Deepika talked about it for herself too. I think for me, as we think, that's where I think extension of these storage spaces is great, because I'm always saying don't clutter up your living spaces with these things that you're attached to. You don't necessarily need it every day. There's no purpose for it daily, but you're not ready to fully let it go and pass it off to someone else, or God forbid, trash it, right? Yeah. So that's where a public storage space comes in handy. Do you have that where you can store it? And I always try to limit somebody to a box of it. Like, let's intentionally think, do you really need the entire room of stuff that you've saved for years, or can we limit it down to a box? And we're going through it. Like, it's really conversations. And a lot of the times people just want to share that conversation with you of what that meant, why it meant. And once they've kind of dealt with that and had the conversation, shared it, they're almost ready to let go and go, you know what? As I talked about it, I realized I'm okay with letting it go, right? So it's sometimes they just haven't dealt with what that it related them to, right? But there are other things, and we'll get to it because I think there is a really interesting question. I think it's that ties to sentimental things and how you probably need to find a different way to store it. Yeah.
I find it interesting that it's like behind every single thing in our life, there's like always like a psychological piece that's like attached to it.
Yeah.
You know, like with money, with finance, with cleaning, with love, with relationships, it's always about like psychology. Like one person might be so detached from their materialistic items, but then another person might be so attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Like the same type of thing. And one person has no interest in it. And the other person's like, I could not live without this.
Yeah. And like same with people who are like, quote, like hoarders or people who just like things, and then some other people that are just like very minimalistic.
Yep.
Right? Like it's so
that's an intentional thing, right? And it's how they've been brought up. And it also goes back to like, you know, oftentimes I'm acting like a couples therapist when I'm in a home because you have the husband, I mean, you know, right? Talking about the husband and the wife are not on the same page with how the house should be. Maybe like you said, even with your parents, right? This idea of like, why are we living in this perfect place? We should be living in it. And so you always tend to marry that opposite person. And going back to like, it's usually how you grew up is how you choose to keep your space. And so if you grew up in a place where your parents didn't really care about it either, why would you bring that into a marriage? And so the key to making it work is for you guys to talk through how do you make each other happy and not irritate each other that you're just
so like is it good relationship advice to like see how your spouse's in-laws live, and then that'll determine how
I think it's it's important for sure. Unfortunately, when we're in that love stage, we're not thinking through realistically, like how do we do a checklist of this person? Because if we did, we may not marry that person, right? If we actually attempted to look and see, do we like them for everything? I think more
people should do that. So
yeah, fair enough. But I think it also, the point of marriage too is that you're never going to agree on everything, and it's working together, even despite the differences. Because sometimes that might be the perfect person, and you just don't get along on one thing. It's how to communicate and work it out, right? Yeah. Wow, we've gone into relationship advice now. I wasn't expecting
it's all aspects of your life. Yeah. It's very interesting.
It is very interesting.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, that's like really set me into a little bit of a spiral. Like that's so interesting.
Well, because I know like my mom's parents, my grandmother had the plastic on the couch. Like no one was allowed in that room.
Oh my God, yeah.
We would get scolded if we were anywhere near there. It was only like when these fancy people that never came for dinner came. And then when we had our own, like growing up, my mom had like our living room, dining room was the same. Like you just don't go there.
Correct.
So it's just very interesting to see. Where my house, like you're allowed everywhere. I don't care. Yeah.
Wait, so then why are you not like, no, but you're very clean. Do you think you got that from your grandparents?
Well, no, yeah. My mom was very tidy in particular.
Yeah, okay.
So that's where I got it from. But like in terms of like using a space, I'm not going to just block off an area and be like, we're not allowed in here.
Yeah.
Like, no, just go in and use it. Like that's what it's here for. That's my take.
Yeah. My mom is like very clean, but like we're not like overly clean. You know, like we're allowed to make a mess.
She's like your real life. She's not constantly going clean this up.
I have to like personally tell myself when like my kids are in the kitchen with me, I'm like, it is okay. They're making a mess. Like I have to talk myself off the ledge.
Oh, you're way better than me. My daughter every day has to hear it, to the point where I'm actually like, Mom, why does your business life have to come into my home life? Because like, why are you always having to talk about me organizing my space and decluttering my thing? I'm like, oh my gosh, my poor child. But I can't.
She's literally like 12 years old.
She's not even 12. She's 8.
Oh, she's 8. I thought she was 12.
And so like, the poor child, like she's just struggles because I'm not like you. I'm not going, remind myself that she's a kid. And I'm like, you need to clean up. There's way too much stuff.
No, I do that too. Like if I'm in the room, like this all needs to go, but they know which days that is. So like I'll tell them, okay, like the cleaner's coming.
Specific days?
Because of the cleaner
The cleaner's coming in. This
sense.
all needs to be tidied up. That's my excuse. And like they'll get everything off of their counters and stuff. And then I'll have a clean house for like 3 days. And then it goes back to John.
Wait, how often does your cleaner come?
Bi-weekly.
Oh.
I'm jealous you have a cleaner. I want a cleaner.
I'm going to give me your cleaner's number because I can't find anyone that will come to water down.
I'm
bizarre.
sure you haven't looked enough
Yeah.
because there are 1,000 cleaners begging you to hire them. Go look.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my excuse that they have to clean up.
That's fair. Yeah. I like that.
No.
What are some mistakes that people can make when they think they're cleaning, but then they end up making like a bigger mess than what they
Yes.
started?
And I think you're talking about even like decluttering, like
Yeah.
the decluttering. And this kind of ties to the sentimental. Okay.
Okay.
So I think the biggest thing when people are getting into that decluttering activity is, especially if they're not putting on an objective hat or have somebody like me to help go question why, is they like, let's say it's in that box and they're going through the garage or the basement and they're like, now, like, do I really need this? And they're looking at it. They've got fond memories of it. And rather than like saying, okay, if I'm going to keep it, I'm going to keep it back in the box. They're like, I feel like I need to put this in my, and they start bringing these things into their living space. So what should have been a decluttering activity in one space ends up becoming a decluttering activity in the rest of the home, because now they've validated the reasons why that needs to come back alive into their home. When realistically they've lived without it for months, years in a box. But they've started to go through this process and going, oh, I forgot about this. I should really add this here. And it's tchotchkes and things like,
Wait,
this
is so
you got
true.
as gifts.
Yeah, it is.
Right? We all, I can say I've even done that before. And then I have
Yeah.
to question and go, no, this isn't happening. Because that's automatically what will happen in that instance. You will clutter instead of
Yeah.
declutter. Yeah. That's the biggest one.
Wait, that is such a good one. I do that all the time. I'm
you?
like, wait, why is this in a box? This is so good. Even with like clothes, because you're coming over for my closet soon. You'll see my closet. It is such a mess. But like, because it's not organized, I like forget that I have certain clothes, and then I'll find them and I'm like, oh my God, like I forgot about this. And then I'll like, it'll just get messier and messier.
Right. Yeah,
So.
that's normal.
Do you suggest if people are doing that, then they remove another item in the space that they're putting it in?
Yes, but usually
that's
when they're in
good.
that, so it's lovely to throw rules to these folks, but again, that's the problem, right? They can always validate out why something shouldn't go and why this one needs to be added. So it really, you need the help and question like why are we adding this? And you're right. If we can have a reasonable conversation, we go, okay, if you're going to add that, let's take away something.
No, this is so funny when you said that. And I was like, that's like what someone in a healthy relationship would do. But like most people would be in like, it's giving like toxic versus healthy relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
Whereas in an unhealthy, you're not putting that there.
Yeah.
Put that back. I am taking that to the trash, you know?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Okay. Enough about cleaning. Unless
Are we
you
done
have...
with cleaning? I could go here all day.
Oh, do you have more questions?
No, my question is like with spring cleaning and listing, because I feel like they kind of
Yes,
go hand in
absolutely.
hand. Do you have any tips for people of what they should be doing? Like we chatted about decluttering
Yes.
and not bringing new things in. What else could people think of?
Yeah. So decluttering, and this is where I'm going to put my staging hat on, and as you stage people's homes too. So I think one of the things when you're ready to list your home, and hopefully you have a good realtor like Natalie, who's really guiding you on
Shout
what
out.
should that house look like. But I will say curb appeal, right? That's the biggest thing. And now as we switch over from winter to spring, and you're going to probably be intentional as you drive down now and go back home. I'm always paying attention to people's porches and the
And
amount of
grass.
stuff. Again, we talked about public storage and people using that. They're using their porches and their front yards to hold things that really should be in a shed or a garage. Shovels, kids' toys, and it's just there, like extra chairs. All this stuff is sitting on people's porches, and that's not welcoming. And so that stuff needs to definitely be put away. Curb appeal is important. If that picture on the outside doesn't look good, I'm pretty concerned of how you've kept the inside of the house.
That's true.
And even like how they keep the yard, right? Like we talk about like mowing the lawn and stuff, but even like the way they keep the garden with like the gnomes and all those like. There's a place for that, and it's like we don't need to see the personality of those things and that like mini fence, like that mini little. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. So those things really need to be taken away, and having that conversation with you to try to get that off is important.
I find if I see a house that does have a lot of clutter in the gardens, it does follow it in the house.
It's
Like,
absolutely.
It's not like one or the other. Like it will be in the home too.
And that's what they have to understand. Potential buyers are judging you from the minute they see that picture online or as they walk or drive past your home, right? And if they're not happy seeing the outside, they're not even going to bother looking
No, I
inside.
completely agree.
The other thing that people don't really realize is like when I have a buyer and I'm sending them listings to save me time, which I always say don't bother doing it, but they naturally do this. they get in the car and they drive by the house first.
Yeah.
So they have that exterior look. They want to know what the neighborhood is. And then, okay, Natalie, I want to go take a look at it. So like that's happening without a showing even being booked.
Yeah.
So it always needs to be like,
looking
pristine.
good.
Yeah.
And they think it's only for showing time, and then they're
Yes.
rushing to hide it. Okay, some cities, as you know, have the huge garbage bins.
Yes.
And you talked about neighborhood, okay? You can control your yard, but when the rest of the neighborhood, and you can see it's changing, okay? I'm seeing the dynamics. And garbage bins are out in front. They're no longer hidden on the side or in your garage, and it's shocking.
This is an epidemic.
And it's no longer
This is
now
becoming an
about
epidemic.
your curb appeal. It's now the neighborhood's
Neighborhood's
curb
curb
appeal
appeal.
is
Yeah.
turning off buyers.
So Milton is notorious for this. My brother lives in Milton and he's been looking to move for a few years and it is notorious for this. And he
Yeah.
gets turned off by a neighborhood specifically for that reason. He's like,
100%.
I'm not living here.
Yeah.
And it's like actually becoming an epidemic. And I'm like, why are people doing this?
But it showcases the types of people moving into the space
Yeah.
too.
That's exactly
and
it.
they're not aware of that's uncouth because they're probably coming from places where what's the big deal? Outside is not that
Or
important.
they just like don't know any better.
Right. And nobody's told them. Nobody's had that conversation, right? Like this needs to be put here. And we don't talk to our neighbors like we do to welcome them into places, especially these kinds of neighborhoods, to let them know. And they don't necessarily feel welcome to, you don't feel welcome to tell them these things either.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, obviously.
But it does need to change because it's becoming really bad.
I have actually like at listing photo shoots, I have cleaned up the neighbor's lawn. Like
No way.
I swear to God, I have been picked up garbage. One had like their kids' bikes. I've actually knocked on the door. Like, I'm sorry, I'm taking pictures. Do you mind if I move the bikes on the other side of like your driveway, whatever it
Yeah.
was, so it's not in the picture? Like
Oh, that's good.
I see it.
Yeah.
I feel like majority would see it. You don't want to have a nice picture and then like a bike there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it does make a difference.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I hate when people have like really like unruly like grass, just like long weeds or just like long grass and it's like not taken care
They
of.
haven't, yeah.
Because
they
even
haven't
if like the
touched it.
rest of the like street is like pristine, that one house on like
It
the
stands
corner
out,
or
right?
like
For-
whatever,
yeah.
it stands out and it's like, is this abandoned? Like, does anyone live here?
For all the wrong reasons, it stands out. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's so neighborhood is so important, which sucks because like you can't control that when you're listing a house. Like you can't control what your neighbors do,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
No.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, that sucks that works against you.
Is there anything else that people should think of with like spring cleaning? I think we've touched on most of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. I'm just trying to think of some of the things that you had mentioned. I know one of the things you wanted to talk about was what do we hold on to that everybody probably should get rid of. That's a good one. I could probably spend the entire hour talking about things that we should get rid of. It's actually shocking how many things people have in their homes that they can justify.
Okay, say a couple.
But I'm going to give you I kind of simplified it to A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
and then the sum, okay?
Yeah.
So albums, we all have some of, at least us, I would assume we all have photos, physical photos, and they're either sitting in an album or worse, they're sitting in the folder, the little pocket that you get when you pick it up from that store.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right? It's still sitting there because we never actually got to the point where we would put it in an album, God forbid. And so we have that, and they're not necessarily in our living spaces, right? They're in stored boxes or hidden under the bed. But why I say get rid of it, I'm not saying get rid of it and throw away your memories. What I'm saying is let's start moving to digitizing them, and here's why. And like I can even think of my own parents. They had a wedding album, okay? Their pictures are older than what we're living with. It's fading. You're losing
Same
it.
with mine,
You're
yeah.
losing those
Wait,
memories
that's
if you choose
smart.
not to do anything about it, let alone the space aspect. And so I always try to, with my clients, we set up a separate project for that. We're not doing it in the project that we're working on, but it'll be a separate project where we're going to take time to digitize. And there's places out there that do that service for you. You send them those pictures, again, if you're comfortable, and they'll turn it into a digital file
This
for
is
you.
a really good one because we have like so many photo albums, like from like
Yeah.
parents' weddings, like anniversaries, like back in the day when like we were younger. So that's
Yes.
a really good idea.
So
Yeah.
my mom's has started, and it's like taking her a very long time.
It's time consuming.
I
Yes.
used to, like when my kids were young, I literally printed every photo, put them in albums, and then I still have like doubles and all this other stuff, which I feel horrible to throw out.
Yeah,
They're
like,
already
how
in an
do you-
album.
yeah.
But I'm like, maybe somebody wants this picture. Like it's the
Who
things I
wants
tell
the-
myself.
I know
is
your kids
bad.
are beautiful, but who really wants,
Who wants
your other
it?
picture?
The other thing is, I just feel bad throwing it out. Like I just need someone else to throw it out.
Yeah.
But I
Just
was
take it and
literally
throw it
gonna
out.
say, like, even when you digitize them, like, how do you get yourself to throw out the non-digital copies? Like,
I think I'll always keep those.
Really?
but then what's the point of digitizing them?
No, I think she's doing it for nostalgia purposes.
Well, you know what the other thing is? Like I used to love when I was younger to go down into our basement where we had them and like go through them. My kids do that still. Like they just love it. And
I do that too, yeah.
Yeah, I know people that get books printed, so at least they can see it.
Yeah.
I have like our Alexa displays photos, and like I don't know how many times you'll see my kids like sitting in front of it, watching the photos. It's like, oh my God, remember that?
But that's what I'm saying. So the digital that's what we're used to, right? Our parents' generation, they had the coffee table book, which was your album or what, and we would intentionally sit there and look at that. But now we've got the digital screen flipping through the page. We've got Google reminding us of 7 years ago to this day.
I love that.
Right? Like I like that too. And you get my daughter who sees that coming up and she's like, where was I? I'm like, you didn't exist then. And she gets so offended that life happened before her, right?
I'm like, how dare you?
Yeah.
That's actually smart. So I should go and digitize like the older pictures that I have of Nathan and I, because we took it on like those old cameras.
Yeah.
But you're gonna throw out the other. You're gonna throw out the real ones.
No, I'm not going to throw this out. I will buy storage.
And now you understand why it's $1 billion industry, because people won't give up certain things. They absolutely can't. And they need to find a spot
I don't
for it.
think I could throw out pictures either. So then I'm like, what's the point of digitizing it?
No, that's the one thing I think I would, spend money on. And also I've always been scared of like, if there's a house fire, what's going to, my pictures are the first things.
Correct. They're the first things to go, whether
my
stolen or a fire. Whereas if you've digitized it, you have it for life.
That's what I was thinking about, like the LA fires and everybody who lost their homes in the Pacific Palisades.
Yes.
And like, so many people ran out with like their dog and their like wife or spouse or whatever, right? Yeah. And it's like all of your memories are gone.
Yeah,
like that would break my heart.
Is that because like I'm hoping like if I have dementia when I'm older, like I could look back at that and like that brings me back. Is that crazy? But yeah, that's what I think of.
No, that's actually a thing. They'll use pictures and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That helps them.
You're not gonna get dementia. Don't manifest that.
Thank you for saying that. But I think like long term, I'm like, how am I going to remember this stuff?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's a big thing. I like that one, the pictures.
Yeah. So albums is one. So the second is books. I find, and I was a culprit of this like years back too. Textbooks. We keep textbooks.
My brother has so many textbooks.
Yes.
I get into a fight with him at least biannually.
Yeah.
I'm like, you graduated 20 years ago. You don't need these textbooks.
And they're irrelevant now.
For what reason? I sold mine. I was like,
don't
I'm
know.
done university. I don't want these.
You can tell you're a business owner when you thought about like who else can use this, and because right now, 20 years from now,
I made money off. Well, I didn't make money off of it, but like you know what I mean.
You got some physical cash as a result of giving you, rather than just having it take up space. But remember, these are also textbooks that probably are irrelevant now, not up to date.
There's
Google
like 50 editions.
and online information is available, so it's not necessary. And some of us have course books, like I'm seeing some clients, course books that they never finished, but there's this hope and desire to finish it, so they keep it. But again, that stuff becomes irrelevant once they're printed. And when they do choose to do that course, they're going to have to get new stuff. They're not understanding that, right?
Okay, but what's the mentality behind wanting to keep textbooks? Pictures, 1,000,000,000% I understand.
Okay,
the mentality is, again, that is my sentimental. Pictures and like, oh, I did this course. Like that to me, but I can get rid of those. Like that, you're hitting stuff that I thought I was organized and I'm definitely not. So yeah, I could definitely get rid of my textbooks. For sure.
No, why would you want to keep them? I have trauma from my textbooks.
I don't
ever want to remember me doing
I guess it
this.
depends if you were a studious person or if it was like painful for you.
Not that I was like this great thing, but I'm like, I took so much time like highlighting and making notes and like.
God.
Yeah, unfortunately, I relate to her, and that's why I kept some of mine too. But realistically, at the end of the day, our diploma, our certificate, our degrees validates that we don't really need the book. And then also, when you think about it, a lot of that stuff is irrelevant. Like it's out of date now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense.
I'm pretty sure people in university, college don't even have physical textbooks anymore.
Yeah,
like I think it's all on their like
Correct.
iPads
It's
now.
all digital.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Their poor eyes. Sorry. I don't like reading on the computer.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. It's not great for us.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's B.
Yeah.
C. Clothing that doesn't
That's
fit
my
you.
kryptonite.
Clothing you may have worn for one out, like you're maybe a bridesmaid or you wore it for a particular party and you can never wear it again because everybody will know you wore that again. Those are the things that take up precious closet space. I know for some people, then they've said, like I'm working towards my goal to fit back into that. And that's different. And maybe if it's one or two pieces.
I was just going to say that's
fine.
my thing. That's my justification.
Yeah.
Right. But generally that's not the case for clients like this. They always liked it. They always hope for it. They're not doing anything to get there. And what I always say is that's a really negative thing when you're waking up every morning to walk into your closet and you're seeing the things you can't fit into, rather than opening up your closet to the stuff you love that you love wearing now and having space to breathe in there. Like that really should be the space. So again, that's things we need to really let go.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like
for me, I'm the
up-
opposite. Like I specifically bought this a dress from Abercrombie and Fitch, which was like an extra small, and I kept it in my closet. And I looked at it, well, not every single day because that's like excessive, but I looked at it often and I was like, I'm going to fit into this. And last summer, I fit into
Look
it.
at that.
So I was like, there you go. I did it.
That's important. And
That's
that's
very-
one
But again,
item.
not everyone's like that.
Right. And that's
No,
one
yeah.
piece. That's not crazy. But
Yeah.
I'm talking like this is like a good portion of their closet
Oh, yeah.
space.
No.
It's a lot of
Natalie's
Oh, really?
really? Yeah.
Well, yes, it's a lot of my closet, and I've like spent so much money on these clothes,
Yeah.
and I am working to get back into it.
Yeah.
So like, I will not throw them out yet.
That's
or
fair.
if I know they're too small, I'm like, and they're nice pieces, I'll keep them for my daughter. Like if it's a really
That's
expensive
fair.
piece,
Yeah.
I've kept some for her because like those things will not go out of style.
Right.
But yes, I am one of those people that walk into my closet like nothing fits me, and I'm doing stuff to change.
But do you let it motivate you or do you let it like make you like
Before
feel
it
sad?
wasn't, but now I'm actually like spending money on clothing that fits me now. And then I am actively working to like I want
Perfect.
this not to fit anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I'm
It's
not
too big
depriving
for
it.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes.
know what you mean.
I
Yeah.
get it. Okay, so that's C, and then D is like we talk about digital things. So DVDs and CDs. I don't know you guys, right? I grew up. We had our favorite boy bands, and we spent money on getting that CD or that
Yeah.
DVD, and we can't let go. This is where sentimental kind of comes in and why we do it. And other reasons why people don't get it is they don't even know how to get rid of it because it's kind of plastic. There's not really a recycling. Like you don't put it into recycling. They don't know that they have to scratch it if there's personal stuff on it.
I didn't know
And
that.
otherwise,
Yeah,
people
it's
can
true.
read it, right? And break it in half. And there are recycling centers for that. But most of the time, if it's not a sentimental reason for keeping it, they just don't know what to do with it. And they almost feel bad throwing it away or don't know where to throw it. And so again, why do we have these pieces? Is there another way we could repurpose it? Like for me, my, those favorite artists I had, I loved the covers, right? That was the thing. And it tied back to the memory of the concert or whatever. So, you can, and I wouldn't say this for everybody and I wouldn't say do this for everything, but I turned it into a little bit of an art piece, right? And took the album piece, like the cover out, and kind of created like an 80s theme or whatever, 90s
cute.
theme
Yeah,
thing.
Wait, that's so
I wouldn't recommend that for
smart.
everyone. That's why I was hesitant to
Yeah.
say it, but it is a way to repurpose, still keep the sentimentality of it, but not necessarily all the things. Like I don't have the physical CD.
Wait, I love that because I literally was about to say like how you're like nostalgic with textbooks, which is weird. But I'm nostalgic with like CDs, like my music.
Yeah.
And it like reminds me of like when my brother, because my brothers are significantly older than me. So like when they bought the CDs and then they like pass them on to me. And so like we have that like little like connection. So I like don't want to get rid of them. But that's really smart because then you still feel like you have like a piece of it. Without
yeah.
actually having, because like I'm obviously never going to listen to the physical CD because like
Yeah.
I don't even own anything that you can
Correct.
put a CD into.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the cover would
So
be nice to
CDs
keep.
too, we've turned them into like, there's the, like you can turn them into coasters, right? So that's another one. There's my husband will even take out the DVD, like the center of it, or like the old discs, like the heavy
floppy
hard
disc?
drive disc, and pull out the center, which is just a silver piece.
Yeah.
And we've used them for coasters too. So that's another way
Very
to
cool.
keep it, not necessarily because again, I'm always conscious of like what are we taking to the landfill. So like to repurpose it, and you always need it. Not that we don't have enough coasters probably in our houses either, but it's another way. Like find repurpose if you really want to keep it.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Those are really good ideas. Very good practical tips.
So I have to do A, B, and C.
A, B, and C. And then
Oh, you
there's
don't have a
I'm
problem
good,
with
I'm
oh,
good.
okay.
I don't have a
plastic.
problem with D.
So what about plastic? A lot of us keep Tupperware and like takeout containers, and we keep them in unbearable amounts, and sometimes even without the lid. Sometimes they're discolored. Like why? Like you're never going to use that amount, but we always seem to go, what if we need to give something to somebody? When you do, you'll find the right,
Yeah.
the right container.
Where, like, how do you suggest people dispose of these things? Because, like, I just went through an overhaul of our Tupperware and I recycled a lot of it.
Yes.
But, like, I know, like, for DVDs, we did that last year and I put them to, like, Sally Ann or whatever it was, like, donated them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can donate some donation centers if it's irrelevant to them.
Yeah.
they'll throw it, but at least you've given them the option to look at it. But there are, like I said, there are recycling centers that will take this stuff. But the key is if it's personal, like, and you have personal stuff on there, just scratch it before you give it to them and break it in half.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, that was really informative.
I have so many projects to do now.
Yeah. Get rid of your textbooks, please. It's giving me trauma.
The other thing that we're kind of touching on is that your space and organization is tied to your mental health, because I know it triggers me. So how do you kind of help people navigate that? What are some things that people should look out for?
Yeah, and I think that's the awareness part. And like I said, so when I do these workshops, one of the things I'm talking about is bringing in some of those stats. Like everybody understands why to declutter for maximizing space. Everybody's understanding why to declutter to save time, save money, so you're not buying the same thing because you forgot you bought it and can't find it. But then you start moving into like, okay, and it helps you with productivity and focus. And people, okay, now people are understanding that a little bit of cleaner space, a clearer mind, better focus. What some people don't realize is how important it is when your space is not clear, then your mind gets cluttered. And I know like you and me, we're very self-aware that impacts us. Whereas like somebody like my husband, your husband, and even yourself, until it's clear, you don't really understand how that stuff really impacts
100%.
Yeah.
And the average home, right? And we're just talking homes, we're not even talking offices, has about 300,000 accumulated items. Okay. If you actually started going,
I believe that,
and again, that
sure.
changes with the size of the home and the type of person you are, but that's the average. Okay. And now just think about if half of that or a quarter of that is out of place. Can you imagine
My heart is
how a person lives and is impacted as a result of like not being able to think? You now have like taken what should be like routine, right? Because routine comes when your things are organized, but when your things are not organized, routine becomes hard. And now it's harder for you to think clearly. You're putting so much effort into some of the things that should just become no-brainer. And that's, again, there's a big thing as well I talk about in the workshop is this idea of like physical space, digital space. If they're not organized, it impacts the space between your ears, your mental space. And there's a big connection between that, right? So,
wow.
You know what's funny? So like my husband won't realize things are bothering him until it's clean and be like, oh, like that feels better.
Literally me.
And then I've realized with my son, if I'm asking like, hey, can you like tidy up your space or whatever it is, he doesn't understand it yet. Yeah. So I'm helping him. And then the other thing is like, he doesn't know where he leaves things.
right.
And I'm like, if you keep putting it back in the same spot, it will be there. So like I've just like, it starts young. You have to start
100%.
training this.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just very interesting to see it at the two different levels.
Well, you're setting him up for success.
Let's
like
hope
maybe
it
that you're.
It hasn't clicked yet, but let's.
Yeah, but he's also like what, 6 years old?
Yes.
Yeah, he's so young.
So that reminds me, I
good.
had a client, so we had done it, and like she kind of wrote off being organized. She grew up in a very organized home. Like her mother always kept things very particular. She was an only child. And so she almost grew to resent it when she was living with them because it was like everything was like I had to keep it, couldn't touch certain things. If you didn't put it back, you got in trouble. There was a full day where everybody cleaned. Like it was very, it felt burdensome, okay, is what I would say. But as she started creating her own home, that's what she was naturally doing because that's what she was brought up with. So it's natural. But she married somebody that came from a very sort of a hoarding kind of mentality. And so she kind of wrote it off. And then she had kids. And then you really write it off because some people believe you can't teach kids at a young age. And again, if their personality is a certain way, maybe it's harder until we came in. And then if she was like, oh my gosh, like I did not realize that I thought I was fairly organized. And then when we actually put things in an organized state, she realized the importance of how that impacts the rest of the family. And even the kids who she thought couldn't function by doing this and keeping their own spaces, they were able to start understanding. Kids actually thrive on an organized space. You might think they're kids, they're meant to be messy, but if you put routine in them, they thrive that much 100%. More.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's really important. And husbands are the same way. Spouses are the same. You think they hate it. Don't get me wrong. And this husband of hers, he didn't really want me there. Okay. He was not happy and he kind of made it obvious and he called it her project. And that's how much he tried to get away from this, of me even being in there and doing this for them. But she actually has come back because I always keep in touch with the clients. And 3 months later, he's now going, do you want to bring her to do this place? Because he's realizing
I love that.
this is impacting him with shopping because he was in charge of all the shopping. And Here's another one that people need to get rid of. We have tons of plastic bags, but not even plastic bags, reusable bags. Every time you have a delivery or a grocery, instead of keeping them and using them, we forget about them and we buy more. Okay, that's another one that just ends up coming. So anyway, they had like 50, 60 of them because he would just... So now we found a place for it. That's the same spot for it every day. His keys, he was the guy that would like throw the keys on the couch. Okay. And it would get lost. One time she like literally hid it under the couch to show him what happens when you don't put it in the space. And we created a spot for him, but he still was used to that old mentality of not putting it there. And I think in some ways he was being devious and trying to put it in the wrong spot. Eventually she saw over the course of 2-3 months, he was putting it back there because he realized how much simpler it was to find the key in the spot that he would expect it rather than looking for it on the couch. And same with the grocery bags. He no longer had to go looking and sifting through a bunch of other stuff to get it. He knew that was a spot and he also knew to put it back.
Yeah.
And what a big difference. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like when you have routine, it really clears up the space in your mind. You no longer have to overthink simple things.
That's the part for me. Like, I just want to know that when I need it, it's there and I don't need to like overcomplicate things. Yeah. It just, I want to be as efficient as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like half of my day consists of me like running around looking for my items for sure.
Yeah.
Which literally,
yes.
Which I think my life would be so much less, like I'd be so like not as overwhelmed if I just kept things where they belong.
That's a big one.
Yeah, I know, Rick, where everything is. If I've touched it, I know where it is. And if it's not where I put it, then I know somebody else touched it.
Damn.
And it's like, find who touched it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's a blame game. That's not
It's
good.
like, where is that? Yeah. Very interesting. So it affects your mental health. Can it affect your physical health?
100%. So those stats again that I share. So again, we move into people now understand productivity, focus, fine. Then I start talking about it impacts your sleep. It impacts your eating habits. And then that's when they're going, okay, Sheila, now you're this doesn't seem right. Or you really have to explain it to them. So for sleep, again, we talked about when things are around you, your cortisol level goes up. For women, this is even more. There's research that shows for women, this is even higher, right? And as your cortisol level goes up, your ability to sleep is harder. You may wake up in the middle of the night. We always have that. I have that problem. And that's usually a cortisol level issue. And when you're stressed and anxious, cortisol level goes up. When your cortisol level goes up, your impact to also react to people is different. You're not able to react as professionally, perhaps. You might be agitated, irritated. Maybe you can think of a few people that haven't reacted to you as you would expect them to. Maybe it was overblown and off the top, and perhaps they were in this sort of fight or flight mode. And that could be because of the things that was going on in their life, disorganized state, right? Whether it's physical or mental or whatever. And so just be aware of that. But the other thing to talk about, other than the stress and the cortisol impacting us, and we can talk about that a little bit more with certain conditions, is eating habits. So people are shocked when I say your eating habits would improve if you had an organized home.
That makes sense. I can see that.
It makes sense to you.
It doesn't make sense to me.
But it doesn't it makes sense to people that might realize how their eating habits are impacted. So I always say the kitchen is a great place to be organized. And last time I told you guys, it's my favorite spot to organize. Not because it's the easiest, it's actually the hardest in some level. It's got so many little things, but because it's the most impactful to the home. And let's forget like the dishes and the cutlery drawers and the cabinets. The pantry and the fridge are so key. And when you have health problems and the food you put in your body impacts your health, you have to be intentional of what those two places look like. When you open most people's pantry doors, you're seeing snacks, you're seeing the chips, the crackers, the candies. That's the first thing you're able to grab. That shouldn't be the first thing you're visually seeing when you have health problems. So I know for me, I've reorganized my kitchen because I have health problems where the best case scenario, don't bring that stuff into the house. Unfortunately, we live with other people that bring the stuff into the house, or they're okay to have it. So I've reduced it to a lower levels where I can't see it for my daughter's sake, or up above for my husband's sake. And so they can access it when they need it. But at eye level and arm's length should be the healthy stuff. So in the pantry, it should be your beans, your oatmeal, all the kind of stuff that you would use. I have my protein shake and everything in there as well, and all this all the spices that go with that. That's really what should be when you open it and the first thing you see. And then everything else can be outside of that, but not at eye level. Fridge, same thing. When you're famished and hungry and you're just wanting to grab, it's so much easier to grab the packaged cheese or whatever, takeout, right? That you probably shouldn't eat, rather than having the freshly cut up vegetables, the fruit, the pre-packed meals. And so meal planning is a big part of this and being intentional and having clear containers for all that. Because if you can't see it and you're using a takeout container that isn't clear, you're going to forget it's there. It's going to die, get moldy, and you're never going to use it. And it would have been beneficial to your health. So I'm a big proponent of pre-cut up stuff. It is intentional. It takes at least a day to do that, but it's worth it. And take things out of the packaging. Because if it's not, when you're opening that fridge and you have to think about undoing something, you're less inclined to bother doing it. So even eggs, I take it out of the cartons and I have it in an egg container.
Yeah.
And it's just simple things like that, but you do need to make it easy, as if it's like grabbing chips.
Yeah.
No, you're so right. So yeah, like and this stuff is going viral right now online, like all the different containers and like things that you can buy for your fridge.
So fun.
So I know it is fun. And like we
So
just
fun.
got like the containers for the pre-cut up vegetables
Right.
from Amazon in our fridge because we're vegetarian. So we eat a lot of vegetables.
Yes, yeah.
So my mom will just like literally one day a week just like cut them all up. And then like when I go to make my salads, because I eat a lot of salads,
so
or like
much easier.
whenever she's making, like Indian food, she'll just like grab it really quickly. And it's just like,
That's awesome.
and it's just easier because now I'm like, oh, like now I don't have to cut this up, and it's like an extra step for me to avoid eating my salad. But now I can just grab it and go, right?
Can you send me those containers? for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
vegetables?
Well,
Okay.
no, they're so good, and they're like so like small and sleek, and they just like fit right into your.
I
fridge.
find like I have everything washed, and I'm gonna go to the next step with the vegetables, just like actually cutting them for the kids.
Cut, yeah.
But like all the fruits washed, they could easily grab it, and I find they do make better choices because I don't have to go wash it, or like it's just if it's in the fridge, everything's clean and easy to take.
Yeah, and it goes back to time, right? We don't have time. So if you can simplify it and it's one less step to get to the end result of eating better, why don't we do that?
Yeah, accessibility. No, I agree with you about the whole food thing. The food thing is so important, and like, I know in this episode we wanted to talk about like mental health, which we've been talking about. We want to talk about PCOS because I have PCOS and you've been diagnosed with PCOS as well.
Oh yeah, many decades ago.
Oh really? When did you get diagnosed?
In my teens, and way
Oh my
before
God.
like doctors really knew how to deal with it. So whenever I hear somebody that has PCOS now, and that's like when I heard the episode where you guys were talking about your health, and I was like, I felt for you, because I was like, a lot of like you're in a state where they know more about PCOS.
But
They're still
don't
throwing medicine.
know much, so I can't even imagine.
Can we just
Oh, no, it was bad.
so like for people who do not know, what is PCOS?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's basically a short form for polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a hormonal imbalance, and often it's tied to like insulin resistance.
Yes.
It impacts like the levels of
Androgen you have,
testosterone, lots
estrogen,
of different things, and it looks
progesterone.
different. Like there's 1 in 10 women that have it, but it looks different in
For
every
everybody.
woman. Like me and you will probably have a very different look and feel.
symptoms,
Even
yeah.
our look. Some women look very skinny, and others we might be more plump, right? And so there is no consistency across the board, and we can. It's actually I follow a group, or like it's a nutritionist and a personal trainer that are focused on this, because they've seen so many terrible stories of how women are treated with PCOS by the medical world. And so their intention is to treat it naturally, physically, with food, with exercise. And they break it down really smartly into 4 categories. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I would suggest looking at it, because that ties back to that variation. You could fall under all 4 of those categories with somebody with PCOS, or just one.
Yeah.
So it changes, but it really, at the end of the day, it's not curable, they say, but
it
it's
is
manageable
manageable
by what you eat and how you move your body.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because like honestly, I can't believe you got diagnosed so many decades ago and they like knew what it was, because I was so unaware to the condition before I got it. Like I would always hear people being like, oh yeah, I have PCOS, and I'd be like, oh, what's that? Like,
Yeah,
it's, like,
most
kinda
people don't
whatever.
know what it is.
No idea, but it's
Yeah.
crazy because it actually affects. I think the statistic is higher than 1 in 10 now. Like I think it's
think it
like
is.
probably like 1 in 4, or like I think it's like 1 in 5 to 1 in 4.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot, because, and even in my own life, ever since I got diagnosed with PCOS, and then I started talking about my journey and how I've managed it, and like it's pretty much like gone now for me. Other girls and other women in my life started reaching out to me and be like, oh, I also have PCOS or whatever. And I'm like, damn, this is really common
I
now.
think it's actually still 1 in 10, but we're talking about it
maybe
more.
we're talking
So
about it
like
more.
when I was nobody knew what that was.
Fair.
And I'll be honest, it was a combination of my mom, who had her own problems when she was younger. And you can imagine they didn't know what it was called back then, and they treated it terribly. But so she was aware that her children could potentially have that. So when she heard some of my symptoms, she forced me to go to our doctor. And I had a really great doctor in Hamilton who was ahead of the game, when I would say, for medically. But unfortunately, the medical world didn't know how to treat it well. In fact, they put the way to treat it was birth control back then.
They're still suggesting birth control to this day.
Guys, that's like
My doctor suggested it to me.
It's terrible because that actually ends up taking you into infertility issues. And that's what happened to me when I finally wanted to have kids, was infertility issues as a result. And again, if you're throwing medication, and again, I'm very much about Eastern medicine when it comes to managing this a bit and more naturally. When you start throwing medicine to this stuff, metformin's another big one. It's actually the safer of the two. And they have tried to push away the birth control, except it helps with certain people that, you know, with the younger generation with their particular needs, they might continue to offer that. But generally speaking, metformin's the big one. But what happens when you don't address the ultimate issue, which is eating well and moving and just putting medicine into it, is other health problems or result of it. So hyperthyroidism, which I have, and that exacerbated, and it kind of came almost on the onset just before I decided to move into Eastern medicine to help address it.
It's funny because like when I was younger, I would have like irregular menstrual cycles, but I was very active. And then the doctor's like, oh, we're going to just put you on this. They didn't even really ask if I wanted it.
Yeah.
It was like, you're going to be going on birth control.
This.
And I'm like, at that point, you're like, oh, they know what's best for me. I'm like, oh, I'll now know every time I get it. And like you rationalize in your head.
They push birth control on everyone.
It's
everyone.
crazy.
Like I'm blessed with like the best family doctor in the world. I would say like she's honestly the best and advocates for me so much. But even she was like at the beginning was like, are you sure you just don't want to go on birth control? And I was like, absolutely not. Like I've been raised to have like a very natural approach to medicine like yourself. And like I know you're natural as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, no. And then she was like, what about metformin? And I'm like, I need something natural. So then that's when she suggested myoinostal.
Yep.
And I don't know if you're on it,
Yeah,
but
I
it literally
use inositol.
changed my life. Like it's been a game changer. I've been on it for over a year and like my periods are regular again. I had a lot of weight gain. It's all gone. I mean, I've also been working out very consistently,
makes a
eating
difference.
very well,
Yeah.
being very intentional with what I'm putting into my body, not even just food, but also like products. Like I don't want to put anything toxic into my body.
Correct.
I'm looking at like ingredients more.
Yeah.
I'm like switched out all the oils in my house. I'm like, Mom, we're not cooking with vegetable oil anymore.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
either
Yeah,
avocado
that's a
oil
big
or
one.
olive oil or like
Yes.
bust. Like we're making very intentional decisions. But it's like there are things that can be done and it's not just medicine. Like it, you know?
Yeah.
But the reality is medicine works because it's the quick fix, right? It doesn't solve the problem, but it helps alleviate some of the problems. And that's why people do it, because the approach we're taking, we understand it's going to take longer to get to the end game, right? You took that powder, the inositol, but it didn't happen the next day. It took a course of at least 2 months, 3 months before you saw that change. Not everybody is willing to go that route, right?
I know.
So
yeah, we need to change that mentality because it's like even today, I was just pushed like, what's it called? Like anti-inflammatories and pain meds. I'm like, I don't really want that approach. And like, even when you ask the doctor, like, what are the long-term effects? They kind of like, they get like cringy. Like, I'm like, no, what are the long-term effects of me continuously doing this? Like, well, if you don't take it like every day and it's like 3 or 4 days of the month, I'm like, oh, no.
And it's crazy. And you were even saying, you were like, well, is there anything else I can do like when I get flare-ups and stuff? And they were like, no, just take the drugs. And you're like, what?
Yeah, they
like,
want to give me like for my back, they want to give me like cortisol injections and like all this other stuff. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, like there must be another option.
Yeah.
But not when you ask a medical professional, right? Because their studies and everything they know is only to throw medicine at you. Like that's how they've been brought up. Like that's why you move to naturopathy and all that kind of stuff. Because their whole premise is understand your whole body and then provide you with an answer that isn't, and they should be well aware to let you know that's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's intentional, consistent changes and routine and those things that get you to the end result.
Yeah. And I find when you're going to a doctor that specializes in one thing, that's like their main focus. They're not going to look at how your whole body is kind of
like they don't
reacting
come
to
at it
that.
from like a holistic approach.
No, that's the thing. They don't. So like you kind of have to always be your own doctor while doing things.
Well, and now isn't there this new thing with health where you can only go to the doctor to ask about one issue?
oh, it's
Well,
bad.
think
Wait,
with this is a new thing, like one doctor visit, one issue, and it's like, okay, but my issue is multiple things. Like, how can I pick one? And that's also why medicine to me fails, because if you're only choosing to look at the one issue rather than the whole problems or they may connect. And you're just choosing to fix this one area, and then that's exacerbating something else because you chose not to listen because the appointment only allowed for one issue to be brought up. And you'll see this. So like walk-in clinics are a big one. There's actually a new thing where if you started with one doctor, and talked about an issue, if you go to another doctor, that doctor will be upset because you're supposed to continue therapy or treatment with them.
Yeah.
And I don't even understand it. I'm just hearing about this.
I know, like I'm having issues with my doctor. So they act like our doctor's office sent us out, like everybody out, a questionnaire asking like, when do you go to a walk-in clinic? Why are you going to a walk-in clinic?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I chose not to fill it out because we do use walk-in clinics for the kids a lot because if they are like, they get sick at night and there's no
But you
doctor
have
around.
to. Like, how can you be expected to not go to the walk-in clinic?
The other thing, trying to get an appointment with your doctor, it's like, okay, your kid's sick today. You're
3
we can
weeks
see
from
you.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, like, what if you get sick on a Saturday or Sunday? Doctors don't work on Saturdays and Sundays. Like, you have to go to the walk-in.
They work bank hours, like 9, not even 10
Literally.
o'clock. They're showing up for their 9 o'clock patients and they're out the door by 3. And I'm just like, how do you even, how do you make money? I guess they do have a ceiling, I guess, in Canada,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's part of the problem is like, it is probably a little bit of a money thing and like time thing. And that's probably impacting some of
I think
these
a lot of
things.
doctors, which is fair, I think a lot of doctors think they're like undervalued and underpaid.
Sure.
So I think they're just
It's
like
our system,
they're
too.
like
It's the
rebelling
system's
against the
broken.
system, which is it's fair because it is a system and they are underpaid because, you know, healthcare funding is just being cut over and over again.
Well, so like there's a group of doctors that I do work with and the head doctor brings doctors from different countries here and gets them established. And I help them find rental properties and that sort of thing. So every time I've been helping them, they land and like literally the first week they are fully booked for 3 more weeks. Like I'm trying to like
there's
help
a serious shortage.
There is. And like you could tell they're like, oh my God, like they're overwhelmed because where they came from, it wasn't like this. And they're really like figuring out like we're a little bit backwards.
So apparently family doctors are capped at like 1,000 to 1,100 patients.
That's a
which
lot.
sounds like a lot, but then it's not because people are still like, no, take us. Like my family doctor has over 1,400 patients. And I like begged her to take my mom as a patient because it's just like, because I can text my family doctor. Like we have a very close relationship.
nice.
So I'm like, I need like my mom and my dad on this so I can just like text her with their issues and she has her file and stuff. I had to beg her and she was like, Deepika, like I'm only doing this for you. She's like, I have so many patients. She's like, I am like literally like she'll text me sometimes and she'll be like, I'm just so burnt out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's so sad. And then, like you said, there's a ceiling. So whether you have 500 patients or you have 1,400 patients, like there's a max you can make, right? And it's like, it's sad.
It's unfortunate.
So like I get, like it's not fair for us as like the consumer or the patient, but I get why they also behave that way as well.
Yes.
You know, like I get it at the end of the day. Like,
the intention of why they got into it soon is lost.
is lost.
right?
Yeah.
When they realize the business side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's got to change.
so you are still dealing with your PCOS or are your symptoms managed?
I don't know. I'm still dealing with it because weight, it's like anything. One day I'm like, okay, I'm gung ho to like work out 5 a.m. in the morning and eat, but like it's that intentionality, just like with organizing, eating well. You guys know, I can start off my morning really good because I've got a great morning routine. But then when I'm with clients, as you guys know, as the minute you start work and you're working with clients, I get into this mode where I forget to eat. I forget to drink water.
Oh no.
Like hydration is such a big,
It's a huge
important part
thing,
of
yeah.
this. We talk about moving, but like if you're not drinking, that's just as bad. And then you tend to eat, realizing you really should have just drank water. And so that is my failure. And it's constant. Like it's a constant, like I need to be intentional and I'm not. I'm struggling with the eating a bit. I find exercise is not hard for me because I love going to my private gym, but it is hard. Like you can understand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's not. But remember, it's not curable. It's all about managing it through these wholesome ways. And the minute it falls off the wagon,
I know.
you're dealing with the symptoms again. It's not like throwing medicine and just going, it's just hidden now. It's dormant, right? It's not like that.
But it's nice that you were still able to get pregnant.
So that's when I moved. So I was being forced by family and people, you know, all with the right intentions, go to a fertility doctor. And I hated the idea of being poked and prodded. And again, medicine going into my body, I'm against that in so many levels. And it just didn't sit right with me. So, and I guess the fortunate part or unfortunate was I wasn't that like gung-ho to have kids. I always believed that if I wasn't going to have them naturally, I wasn't intended to have them.
Right.
I really believed that. And so if God really wanted me to have them, I'll have them at some point or not at all.
So what were you doing before you moved to naturopath?
I was like everyone else.
Like were you taking medicine?
I was taking
What were you
metformin. I was taking Diane 35, is which I was originally moved to. Then when I was trying to move into getting pregnant naturally, doctors suggested get off that and move into metformin. And so I did that. And sure, it helped for superficially, right? It helped me keep weight off, kept acne away, all that stuff. But my insides were still not working the way they needed to, right? And so I was beginning to really lose heart with the idea that medicine could really help. And so that's when a friend said, why don't you try naturopathy? And I was hesitant, to be honest. I was like, what is this frou-frou stuff? And now I'm the biggest proponent of it. I use it for everything.
I've like over the last couple of, actually like this year, I think I went really hard on, it's called naturopath.
Naturopathy.
Naturopathy.
Naturopathy. It just sounds weird. But yeah, so I see a naturopath and she does not see her doctor. Like her doctor knows that she does this. And like, if it's something serious, she'll come to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing that there's another option. And then also like knowing, I feel like I know more about my body now than I did with going to a doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Thank you guys. See ya.
Bye.